are you? Good to see you again.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Don Fry, President and CEO of the Greater Baltimore Committee, and again, thanks to our elected officials and business leaders who have joined us today. I thank you for being here and for your support and commitment on this very important issue dealing with transportation. It's an issue that has been of paramount importance to the Greater Baltimore Committee and the business community at large. For decades, the Greater Baltimore Committee has taken a lead role on transportation policy at the regional and state levels. As businesses and institutions, we recognize the vital role that an interconnected, multimodal, well-maintained transportation network plays in a competitive, growing economy. The last few years have been extraordinarily challenging for the Greater Baltimore region, as there has been a lack of coordination in our planning of a regional transit system. But today is not about the past, but about current and future opportunities. We are perfectly positioned to take advantage of multiple opportunities to join together to ensure that transportation is a priority in our region, and they're working together to build and maintain the best regional system possible. When I reflect on where we stand today, perhaps what's most exciting is the tremendous local leadership that we enjoy on the issue of transportation. I can't tell you the last time where we have seen such strong prioritization and commitment from our regional elected executives on transportation and improving our transit network. It's an honor to be here today to introduce them, to talk about what they are prioritizing in their own jurisdictions, but more importantly, how they're working together to move the transportation and transit agenda forward. Certainly not going to steal their thunder. I want to introduce them to you. We have had, unfortunately, some changes in our presenters. Baltimore's Mayor Jack Young has had to leave to go back to Baltimore City because of an incident involving shooting involving 2 U.S. Marshals, and also Baltimore County Executive is also, Johnny Oshesky is also on his way to shock trauma to meet with the families of those individuals. But we do have with us today Steve Sharkey, who's the Director of Transportation for the City of Baltimore, and he'll be followed by Anne Arundel County Executive Steuart Pittman, Howard County Executive Calvin Ball, and then Deandra Walker, who's the Head of Transportation for Baltimore County.
Hello, I'm Steve Sharkey, the Director of Transportation for Baltimore City. I want to thank, again, also want to acknowledge the mayor could not be here, and he sends his regards to this event, but I'm here to give the remarks, and I'm excited about this day because I love transit. So just a couple acknowledgements. Thank you, Don Fry and the GBC, for putting this together. They're a great partner in the transportation for this region, as well as Calvin Ball, Howard County Executive, Johnny Olszewski, Baltimore County Executive, and then, of course, County Executive Steuart Pittman. We're here today as a united team to highlight the importance of investing in the Baltimore region's transportation network. MTA provides transportation to roughly 320,000 Marylanders each weekday. The safe and reliable and efficient operation of MTA is critical to both Baltimore City and the state of Maryland's economy. Data provided by the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics indicates that between November 2018 to November 2019, the state of Maryland generated roughly 31,400 new jobs, 23,600 of which, or 75%, were generated in the Baltimore metropolitan area. Roughly 32% of Baltimore City public school students rely on MTA for transportation to and from school each day. And so this is not just about the transportation, but the overall health of our city. When you think about it, investing in Curran makes more sense when you realize what we can do. Excuse me. 29% of Baltimore City households lack access to an automobile for transportation. And MTA is necessary for hundreds of thousands of local residents who need transportation to get to work, school, errands, or connect with family members and friends. Ensuring that local residents have affordable, reliable, and timely transit service is an effective empowerment tool and can be utilized as a long-term strategy towards reducing crime. And we're not just here to talk about what the state can do for us. It's worth pointing out that Baltimore City DOT is committing $10 million more for transit enhancements, as well as our ongoing dedicated bus lane partnership with MTA. We want to stress that this is a partnership investment that benefits the whole state and the Baltimore region. We're working every day to enhance transportation in Baltimore City, and it's an investment we're very truly proud of. Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome Steuart Pittman, Anne Arundel County Executive.
Thank you, and I want to express my condolences to the families of the federal marshals. We've just recovered in Anne Arundel County from having two of our officers in similar situations. So I'm sorry that the county executive and the mayor are not with us, but they're exactly where they need to be. Ramon, could you come up here a minute? I did not realize that our transportation director, Ramon Robinson, was here, and I want him to be here to bail me out in case I say something wrong. Ramon has done the work for us. We put together a plan called Move Anne Arundel, and Ramon has taught me that transportation planning is not just about moving cars, it's really about moving people. And when we do transit, rather than just invest in roads, what we're really doing is we're improving the health of our residents, especially when they walk or ride their bikes to those train stations. We're improving our environment when we're getting cars off the roads, and we're addressing what it costs to live in our county and in our region. The cost of housing has increased far faster than people's incomes, cost of health insurance, cost of childcare, and we can actually help people out by making it possible for them to get to and from their jobs, to and from the other places that they go with public transit. So we have done a $75 million permanent public improvements fund in our budget, some of which, $75 million is for transportation, and some of which is going to be going to transit. We're very proud to be working with the Central Maryland Regional Transit Planning Group and the Baltimore Metropolitan Council on transportation planning regionally, because 60% of our residents cross the county line to get to and from work, coming in or coming out. And I think the most important part of all this is in our county, we have shifted our development planning, our development focus from what has historically been suburban sprawl to transit-oriented development. So we have light rail stations, we have MARC stations in our county that we think are the real opportunity for growth. And if we don't have good services and we don't have good public transit, it doesn't make sense to do transit-oriented development. So that's what the residents of our county support. I think that's what works for this whole region. And I think that when we're talking about state investments, we have to put a stake in the ground. There are a lot of competing needs. Education is important, health is important. There are a lot of competing needs. And I'm very proud to support House Bill 368 and Senate Bill 424 to put that stake in the ground and say, we are not going to leave transit funding behind. Thank you. So now we have Calvin Ball, Howard County.
Thank you. I want to echo the sentiments of County Executive Pittman, sending our prayers to the families of the federal marshals and thanking Mayor Young and County Executive Olszewski. And I also want to thank each of you for being here today as we work to create a sustainable transit system for our region. I'm pleased to be here with my colleagues to express our support for a bill that will help equalize the playing field for the transportation system and the Baltimore region. Howard County residents have a shared interest in solving our transportation challenges. Traffic and transit is a top concern for our residents, and nearly 60% of Howard County commutes in and out of our county, crossing our borders each and every day. And despite our local location between two major metropolitan areas, Baltimore and DC, the MARC-Camden line is only all-day, long-distance transit service in the county. We need both a well-run and adequately funded system if we want to improve the quality of life and opportunities for all of our residents and our businesses. losing over $2.5 million in state funds in the MDOT capital program to plan and design capital improvements along US 29 corridor between Columbia and Montgomery County isn't the way that we wanted to start this legislative session, but that can change. And we're making progress on several fronts in just 1 year alone. In fact, we're making strides within Howard County to create a more multimodal transportation system by expanding our local transit service, rolling out new transit applications this spring for mobile fare payments, and real-time bus information for our RTA. We're adopting a complete streets policy and a brand new pedestrian master plan to complement the record investments that we've made in our Bike Howard Express. And working with the public school system to expand transit use for our students and improving walking pathways. These are just a few of the steps that we've taken in Howard County, but there are many more innovative opportunities to address these issues, not just in Howard County, but across our region and our state. Howard County is in full support of creating a regional transit plan to focus on priority corridors, which can range from improving access to city institutions and services for underserved population centers throughout our county, improving the ability for high-tech employers in Columbia and throughout Howard County to compete for those high-skilled workers living outside of our state and in DC, and reducing the reliance on single occupancy use trips, which negatively impact our environment and cause even more congestion, losing valuable time that we could be spending with our families or even at work. And no matter where we are in the region, the trips to downtown need to be safe and reliable before we see these meaningful changes. MTA capital funding support for local system preservation is key, and more state funding and support for transit is a priority. Unfortunately, our state support for local transit, even in the more densely populated portions of our county and state, has been flat for many years, far too long. And our local systems are well positioned to be logical extensions of core MTA system. And just like the MTA, we're working diligently to reduce the average age and increase the reliability of our fleet. And to do that, we need to increase the rate of our investment to bus replacements by at least $1 million a year. We look forward to increased regional transportation collaboration on our mutual transit needs, and we want to ensure a safer, more reliable, more accessible transit system for all Maryland residents. I want to just personally thank the Maryland General Assembly and their leadership. I know they're balancing so many issues when it comes to education, public safety. However, transit and transportation is also a priority because it helps us get to where we need to help reach our dreams and our goals. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm DeAndrea Walker. I'm the Deputy Director for Transportation for Baltimore County. I bring you remarks on behalf of County Executive Johnny O. He apologizes for not being here at the very last minute. As you all know, there was a shooting and he has found it very important that he needed to go and be with the families there. So I bring you greetings and remarks on his behalf. Johnny O is proud to join his colleagues today from across the Baltimore region in support of the regional and comprehensive and innovative transportation solutions that will help our residents get around more easily and efficiently. We all know it's a growing challenge. As we've heard, the Baltimore metro region is one of the most congested in the country. And if we are serious about finding a solution, then we all have to do more. In a growing and increasingly diverse jurisdiction like Baltimore County, adequate access to efficient, reliable transit is essential to helping residents tap into job opportunities and improving overall quality of life. But the truth is that Baltimore County hasn't exactly been known for its innovative approach to transportation planning. Thankfully, we finally changed that. In Baltimore County, we created our first dedicated Office of Transportation Planning, something that's never existed before, despite being the third largest jurisdiction in the state. Staffed by a growing team of experienced transit and transportation professionals, they are working to reinvent how we look at transportation, identifying creative opportunities to more efficiently, effectively, and sustainably move our people around. That means everything from our first ever line item for bike and pedestrian infrastructure to efforts to grow our locally operated transit system, including laying the foundation for our community circulator. That investment has already paid off. Late last year, we were able to leverage our planning efforts to win a $1.65 million federal grant, which will help us get the circulator up and running. The Towson Circulator is an important first step in our larger effort to expand our locally operated transit system countywide. We're putting the same can-do spirit towards our efforts as we explore other innovative ideas like microtransit. Meanwhile, for those who bike to work or want to, we're thinking more holistically about our interconnected bike infrastructure and embracing emerging options for residents like e-bikes and scooters. For the first time in a generation, Baltimore County is making sorely needed investments in both our infrastructure and in our long-term planning. It's also about building bridges with our neighborhoods in Baltimore, Howard County, Anne Arundel County, and beyond. As you know, Johnny O is the chair of Baltimore Metropolitan Council, and he has the honor to serve with his fellow executives and the mayor. This year, BMC is prioritizing two significant projects to ensure our region has the transit system it deserves. First, the BMC has identified $375,000 for the next phase of the regional transit plan, which will focus on a feasibility study emerging from the ongoing planning process. Secondly, BMC has given preliminary approval for nearly $400,000 to be used for the Baltimore Region Transit Governance and Funding Study and in-depth analysis of our current transportation network, which will help inform a broader discussion about opportunities to reform both our transit structure and the system that governs it. These efforts are critical steps forward in taking a more regional approach to our shared transportation challenges. Right now, we are making tough decisions to fund our schools. This is about a long-term conversation, but all of these coordinated planning efforts are essential steps so we are prepared. And as they say, we cannot do this alone. We're asking the state to join us to be a stronger partner as we move forward. By recommitting to working in partnership, we can finally move beyond our jurisdictional boundaries to create a truly interconnected, multimodal transportation system which can support communities across our entire region for generations to come. We thank you.
Thank you to our county regional executives and their support today. This time I'd open up for any questions anyone may have.
What does HB 368 actually do?
The bill that is being addressed is one that's actually being heard today by introduced by Senator Zucker, Senate Bill 424. It would mandate that in the next 5 consolidated transportation plans, that there would be $500 million toward the Maryland Transit Administration. Currently, there's about $370 million on average that's allocated in the CTP each year. For that, so it would ask for an additional increase of about $120, $130 million in that area. It was heard last week. Delegate Learman has the bill in the House. It was heard in the House last week in appropriations, being heard today in Budget and Taxes, Senator Zucker's bill. The Greater Baltimore Committee is supportive of that effort.
What does that $500 million do for MTA? I mean,
well, first of all, it's going to help a lot with MTA. If you look at the numbers, and since the transportation tax increase occurred in 2013, which the Greater Baltimore Committee did support. The Department of Legislative Services has shown that there's only been a 2% increase in spending in the MTA. Contrast that to the State Highway Administration has seen a 77% increase since the fiscal year 2013. So this would help us get some projects in the pipeline. Just today, you see at the national level, our congressional representatives are expressing concern that there are no transit plans in the pipeline at the time that the federal government is about to reallocate a federal transportation plan. So we have to get things moving, so this would allocate some money. Also to fix a number of maintenance issues that occur. Last year, the legislature mandated there be a capital needs inventory of the MTA projects. That capital needs inventory indicated that there was a $4.6 billion shortfall over the next 10 years of projects in the area that need to be corrected. $2 billion of that is unfunded. This year they issue a CTP, and you again see that MDOT's and the seat has reduced MTA funding by $303 million. It's just incredulous to us that you see that sort of cut being made at the time where the needs have been so well expressed and the funding is so inadequate.
Have you had any conversations with MDOT as to the justifications for that?
MDOT is certainly aware of our position, and MDOT, obviously, I think they know of our stressing our emphasis with respect to the importance of transit and really the importance of having a balanced system and having balanced transportation policy and funding throughout the state of Maryland.
$500 million over what time frame, and where would that money come from?
It's $500 million that would be in the next 5 consolidated transportation plans that would come from the existing funds in the Transportation Trust Fund.
Is there a feeling that more emphasis has gone to the Washington region in terms of transit and not enough to the Baltimore region?
I think there's certainly a feeling from our perspective that you see a lot of the major projects occurring in the Washington area. I think, again, you see that from a legislative perspective as well, in that last year there was the effort to create the Central Maryland Regional Transit Plan to come up with what are the next plans for the next 25-year planning transit projects for the Baltimore region. That certainly is a precursor to see the investments going to take place in the Baltimore region.
What specific projects or what types of projects would get the green light if there was more money?
I think first of all, what you look at that capital needs inventory and see what projects are in that plan that need to be addressed to make sure that we have a safe and efficient system. Certainly there are no new projects within the capital needs inventory, but as I said, there's a $4.6 billion backlog, $2 billion of which has not been funded. So that certainly would be the first logical place to look, as well as begin looking at the planning for what comes out of the central regional transit plans, so you can get that moving forward in this process. Any other questions? Again, I'd just like to thank our executives for being here. As I mentioned earlier, this truly is, I think, a unique time. We have not seen the stars aligned in the support and the vision and the prioritization that exists among county leaders, and to see the county leaders working together as they are, see them working closely through the Baltimore Metropolitan Council. Mike Kelly, Executive Director of Baltimore Metropolitan Council, is here today as well. Gina Steuart is also here from BWI Business Partnership. Damon Millard from Family League. I know Aaron Tamarkio from Trade Point Atlantic and Greg Pitchett from Howard Hughes are also here with us today. I think this indicates that there's a tremendous need, and that we need to just highlight the fact that it's important for this sort of effort to move forward so we can move people efficiently and really help us with the economy and make sure the economy moves forward as well. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.